Howdy. We're kind of live here. I still have kind of a cough, little bit of a cough. But I have been seeing today. Hey, Jolene, I've been seeing today a lot of pushback from the David Hogg community towards Laura Ingraham, because Laura Ingraham made fun of that of the fact that David Hogg was rejected by UCLA and UC Irvine, UC Santa Barbara, San Diego, and all that. And well, you know what? Just edit out the coughs. Don't worry. There's more coughs coming. But anyway, he was. I mocked him too because of his skinny little arms, and I said, "Oh, I thought bench press and deadlift didn't count anymore." But that's all I said, and I defend that. By the way, do you like my new Centurion helmet? It's a little miniature Centurion helmet made of metal. But anyway, the thing is, the kid, the kid, has entered the public discourse, and by his own choosing, he and the other two high-profile Parkland, Stoneman Douglas High School survivors have chosen to become the face of what is a political movement, and it's a political movement that promises or to modify it. Many of its adherents, who are being honest, are talking about modifying the Bill of Rights, modifying the Constitution of the United States of America. So the way it works in my world is, if you do that, I don't, honestly, I don't care if you're 17. This is why I've never liked it when people trot their kids out to protest or whatever. I don't, when you bring your 5-year-old to an anti-abortion rally and everything, or when your 5-year-old is holding a sign that says, "Can I please live?" Ban guns or repeal the Second Amendment or whatever. Sorry, but you're making your kids fair game. The Clintons did a good job of keeping Chelsea out of things because Chelsea was never political, right? The first kids are never political. And even when the Bush twins, were having some of their drunken escapades and things like that, the media was sort of, hands off the Bush twins and all that. They understood that those are the rules. And of course, Obama's daughters, the whole thing, they keep them out of the spotlight. The minute Chelsea went on NBC as a paid correspondent, well, she's fair game, right? Those are the rules. That's how it works. And so while I sympathize with anyone who survived that massacre at Stoneman Douglas High School, you have chosen to get out there and be part of the public discourse. And then Brian Stelter from CNN yesterday admitted that back in February, he let that kid, David Hogg, get away with clearly disprovable falsehoods. That's not journalism. That is not in any way, shape, or form doing anyone a service. So, I mean, in other words, if you're allowing a 17-year-old to go on your network, on your radio show or your TV network, and you're allowing them to utter falsehoods, then you're not doing anyone a service. And you're simply exploiting that kid just to get sympathy votes and sympathy points on that. I'm watching some people in Hollywood like Ken Olin just now. He said he's dropping his AT&T account and he's going to Verizon if you continue to advertise on Ingram Angle. So I wonder, Ken Olin is the director of This Is Us on NBC. So I don't know who advertises on This Is Us, but I would never politicize the show. Unless, of course, and he probably will. I'm sure Ken Olin will have some brave anti-gun message on his show. And by the way, criticism and correcting inaccuracies is one thing, and everybody who's in the public domain understands that. But part of that is mockery. Sorry, but if Saturday Night Live wants to mock David Hogg, then they get to, my dog Smitty wants in. Hang on. All right. Okay, Smitty wanted to come in, so Smitty's in. Come here, Smith. Come on. Come on. Well, he won't come up here. He's panty. Smitty is a Catahoula leopard dog. Hey. Okay, come back. So anyway, I mean, that's all I can say there is if you're standing up behind a podium with your fist in the air talking about common sense gun control, but you're not telling me what specifically you're talking about, whether it's, waiting periods or whatever. And also he won't debate. There's another Parkland survivor who wants to debate him, another 17-year-old. He won't debate the kid. He doesn't like being challenged in interviews, and it's because he hasn't been challenged so far. And the simple thing I would ask the kid if he was sitting right here is, what law would you put on the books that would have prevented that? Because everything that could have prevented what happened to you is already on the books. Your own school district wanted a psychological hold on Nicholas Cruz. If they had done that, then he would have failed the ATF background check questionnaire, the Form 4473. Have you ever been adjudicated as mentally deficient? So it's getting to a point where I think it's pretty clear. If, for instance, if a 17-year-old used a gun to protect his family, and then he went on national TV and said everyone should have a gun, every household in America should possess a handgun or whatever, is that kid going to get 5 minutes on TV? Is he going to get 1 minute on TV? Probably not. But if you don't know, there's a term called astroturfing. And astroturfing is when an interest group comes along and just puts a veneer of organic protest on any issue, but behind the scenes, it's highly organized, highly funded, et cetera. That's what the people behind some of the Parkland kids, the money behind March for Our Lives, they have been waiting for something like this for a while. And if you've ever come to my live show, How to Hide Your Guns from Gavin Newsom, you know that the scenario that I put up there is not that far-fetched, that when Gavin Newsom is governor, as he most assuredly will be governor, unfortunately, he will have ready for passage a set of bills banning the possession of any semi-automatic long gun in California. And he will not wait for the bodies to cool down. I've got a cough button. So he will hit the governor's office, and he and Kamala Harris probably wrote these laws already, and they're waiting for a tragedy in California to unleash these laws on us. So I'm getting over a chest cold. I had to cancel the live show last Thursday because it was actually worse. But and then you'll notice that school resource officer who stopped the shooting last week, that's almost out of the news completely now. Some of it's funny because a lot of anti-gun people pushed back on that incident immediately, and they said, "Well, that wasn't a school shooting. That wasn't a mass shooting. That was a personal shooting." So so that doesn't count. But there have been numerous mass shootings that have been stopped. Like there was the theater in San Antonio where an off-duty officer shot the guy who had an AR. But the topic though is a 17-year-old on the political stage. Sorry, but if you've chosen to come out and be part of the public discourse, then you have everything that comes along with it. You don't get that pass of, oh, well, he's a victim. Oh, well, he's 17. Sorry, you're coming out trying to affect national policy. And it's one thing, and this is where, I've got to say, I don't like the shield of victimhood that people wrap themselves in. I've been told that I look like Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec. No, I don't like that, because I don't like going around saying, oh, well, a gun saved my life, because that's not, I don't like argument by anecdote. And so I can't sit there, like if I'm sitting here talking with David Hogg and he says, guns are bad, Nicholas Cruz shouldn't have had a gun, I'm going to agree with him, and I'm going to say that law is already on the books. But I'm also going to tell him, I don't know if guns are inanimate. A gun's actions are taken by the person holding it. A gun saved my life. Okay, I'm alive because I had a gun. Then again, I was in the Army and I was in someone else's country, but not the point. So yes, I protect my family with guns. So, then the idiotic arguments about the AR-15, and I love that because you can tell how incompetent someone is when they sit there and say an AR-15's bullet, the bullet from an AR-15 tumbles. That's the one that is out there all the time. Astronaut Mark Kelly continues to propagate that idiocy. And here's a guy with a PhD in astrophysics, right? And he believes that AR-15 bullets tumble. Effectively, as a rocket scientist, he's a ballistician, like I am from field artillery school. And I know the forces that propel something on a ballistic path, whether it's a rocket, an artillery shell, or a bullet. In a AR-15 bullet, which is simply a 5.56 millimeter bullet, travels the same ballistic path as any other bullet. And I love 556 Twitter, because you have like these ER nurses saying, no, I've seen AR-15 wounds. Well, no, what, did someone get hit with an AR-15? Did somebody poke you in the eye with an AR-15 muzzle brake? No, you have not seen AR-15 wounds. You've seen 5.56 wounds, maybe, but do you know what shot them? So anyway, it gets kind of gross. And listen, you know what? I don't want to sit here and mock a 17-year-old, but I'll defend it by telling you that, look, the kid chose to enter the public discourse about the Second Amendment. Is the connection going wacky? But they're, as usual, they're confused about why the NRA's membership is surging. Well, it's because there seems to be a concerted effort by the media to portray one single side of this debate, of this argument. So, and by the way, tonight at the Arcadia Dave & Buster's, my live show, How to Win a Gun Debate Against an Idiot or an Astronaut, is at 8 p.m. And you can pay cash at the door. I will accept cash at the door. Two tickets for 25. So, but no, it's getting annoying when the person that you are putting up there to debate your side of the issue is suddenly Teflon. Then that's not a debate, And I mean, that's the thing is, I started to get that feeling after Sandy Hook, when the Sandy Hook parents were out there saying things like, who needs one of these rifles? Who needs an assault rifle? What am I supposed to say back to them? What am I supposed to say back to them? Me? I mean, it's bad form, but that's what I would say is, it's not about need. And I don't recall any other amendment to the Constitution specifying a need test. The First Amendment doesn't say if you need to use the word obsequious, you can. It simply says a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of the state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And that is, that's pretty damn simple, isn't it? Because the Second Amendment is one sentence, they didn't have all page long, but a well-regulated militia is just one of the reasons that the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It doesn't specifically say self-defense, does it? Well, you know why? Because that was assumed in 1781. That was assumed that self-defense was the right of every individual. And when you start disarming people, then you're taking away their right to self-defense. I choose to use a shotgun and a AR pistol for the defense of my home. Am I supposed to become a knife fighter or something? We need to stop these AR-47 AK-15s because 50 caliber magazine clips. Yeah, that's the other. I'm sorry, 1788. 1788 is the ratification of the U.S. Constitution. The other issue in this debate is that you have an entire side of the debate that has chosen not to educate themselves on the entire issue. And so that's why you get people talking about AR-15 bullets and and AR-15 wounds, and we have to ban the AR-15 because it's the most evil weapon ever invented on the face of Earth by man. And those AR-15 bullets that it shoots make those really, really bad AR-15 wounds. And so when you're seeing that level of idiocy, it's really difficult to debate it. And if you suggest that, if you say, listen, you're not very well informed on this issue, why don't you get better informed? The honest truth is, the only way they're going to be better informed is if they actually shoot, is if they actually have experience with firearms. Because in all honesty, you can't sit there and just bone up on it. And what most people do is they'll sit there and they'll read like some really liberal doctor or nurse who will sit there in lurid terms and describe a wound from a 5.56 bullet. Well, you know what? I've seen wounds from bigger bullets, and they're worse. Wounds from bullets are bad. That's why we use guns in war, because bullets kill people when properly directed. And that's the other thing there that Salvi Dad brings up. Honestly, you can go around with a sign that says ban the Second Amendment. You can do that all day long. The Second Amendment's not going to be modified, and it's not going to be amended. It's not going to be changed. It is a core part of the U.S. Constitution. By the way, can anyone identify this? And remember, the most deadly school shooting was at Virginia Tech with 2 handguns. So there you go. KI6 UVE, you got it. It's a stripper clip of with all those evil AR-15 bullets. Okay, you don't want to hear me snorting snot either. But no, I would way rather be hit by a 5.56 bullet than a 300 blackout. Give me a second, and I'll show you the difference. This is a stripper clip of 10 rounds of 5.56. That's what this is. This is what's called green tip. Do you have any idea why? This is the Belgian-designed SS-109 bullet. It was designed in the early 80s and issued as, this is the standard NATO issue 5.56 round. This has a little penetrator inside, embedded inside, and the purpose of this round is to defeat Soviet body armor. Now, if you're shooting at someone without body armor, it goes right through them. And it doesn't tumble, by the way. It goes right through them. This is the cheapest ammo out there is this stuff, the green tip. It's very plentiful. This is the ammo that I took to war, even though I did take some other ammo that was a little more effective. So let me take one of these off. So the round that I always talk about, 300 Blackout, is this. And the reason I like it is because it's, as you see, it's the same case as 5.56, right? So it fits in AR magazines. And the only thing you need is a different barrel because the 300 Blackout is a 30 caliber bullet. This is a 5.56 caliber bullet, or in other words, 22 caliber. So it is a larger 30 caliber bullet, and a proper 30 cal bullet. It goes out to effective range a little past 200 meters. It really is more of a close-in round. So I really like it. The main advantage to this is that if you have a lot of AR magazines, you know, these fit in AR mags. So in other words, a 30-round AR mag can hold 30 of these or 30 of these because it's the same case. You know, they took that case and they cut it down. So there you go. So yes, I would far rather be hit by this than this Hornady red tip because this thing will mess you up. It certainly messes coyotes up. So, how many more rounds? It depends on where somebody is hit. If someone is hit in the thorax or the head with a 5.56 round, they will probably go down. But I saw people hit in limbs and abdomen who literally never slowed down, kept running. Because having seen real snipers operate and being on both ends of effective snipers, whether it's an American or an enemy guy, snipers are always trying to get center mass of the chest area. And if you've ever hunted deer and you've taken a clean shot of a deer, you know that there's the expression "dropped like a deer." That if you hit a deer correctly, it should drop in mid-step. And I've seen men hit by snipers. Literally drop in place. Their legs just gave out, and they were dead before they hit the ground. And I rarely saw that with 5.56 because with this stuff, generally the killing that we did was with the SAW, the M249 machine gun. I took loads and loads of semi-auto individually aimed shots with 5.56, and in certain conditions you can literally see the vapor trail downrange of the bullet, and I know I hit people. And they never stopped. So, keep in mind, these mass shooters are getting 10 feet away, and they're hitting people with 5.56 bullets. They're at maximum velocity. So, but again, the point is, a Mini 14. There's 100 other platforms that shoot 5.56. There's nothing special about an AR-15 that makes it do that. Yeah, no, I'm on. Don't even tell me about Mucinex DM, because I'm on the Mucinex DM, and I got to say it seems to be singularly ineffective. But I'll be better by 8 p.m. tonight. But I won't have a mute button at Dave & Buster's. So there's that. Let's see. By the way, keep in mind that of the amendments to the Constitution, the amendments 13, 14, 15, 19, 23, 24 are called the Safeguards of Civil Rights. Amendments 9 and 10 are called the Unenumerated Rights and Reserve Powers. That's, about anything not stated here is preserved by the states. Amendments 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 are the so-called Safeguards of Justice, right? Well, what do you think the First, Second, and Third Amendments are called? Those are called the Safeguards of Liberty. The First Amendment, the Second Amendment are well known to all of us. Of course, the Third Amendment, which is the quartering of troops, that was a deal. The federal government cannot force individuals to provide lodging to soldiers in their homes during peacetime without their consent. That's the Third Amendment. Boy, if you want a bar bet, if you want to stump people, ask them what is the Third Amendment. The Third Amendment actually reads, "No soldier shall, comma, in time of peace be quartered in any house, comma, without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law." That was a huge issue. That was a huge personal freedom issue in 1791, because that's what the British did, is they would just take over your house. So the Third Amendment is one of the safeguards of liberty, along with the First and Second. So part of the problem with the gun issue is it requires two things that a lot of people on the left don't really have a lot of respect for. One is the Constitution, and don't have enough respect to know it. One is the Constitution, and the other is firearms. And so I can tell when I'm debating someone who is adult, they're going to sit there and say, well, those AR-15 bullets, why don't we just ban those? Yeah, or they ask, or they misidentify something as an assault rifle. And an assault rifle has a fully automatic or burst setting. And if you don't know what a burst setting is, with the M16A2, the U.S. military got away from full auto. The last full auto M16s were in the 80s, the M16 and the M16A1. When we went to the M16A2, it has a burst setting. It goes safe, semi, burst, and it fires a 3-round burst, because an M16 on full auto is virtually ineffective. I mean, nearly ineffective. And so that's an assault rifle. Assault rifles are not semi-automatic. This is what regulates a semi-automatic rifle. Okay, this is not full auto. This is me pulling a trigger each time I pull my finger. Hey, someone pull my finger. That's not an assault rifle. Okay, so there's that. And you can own a fully auto weapon in the U.S. It's called a Class 3. You need a Class 3 license. You pay a pretty hefty fucking fee for each weapon, but you can possess full auto weapons. One of the largest privately held machine gun collections in America is owned by Steven Spielberg, but he owns it in Idaho. Do you think anti-self-defense folks conflate assault rifle and assault weapon on purpose? Yes, they do. Well, if they don't, they do it out of incompetence. Because if they want to show me some respect and know their nomenclature, then I will debate them about guns. But when they begin by, like our former Speaker of the Senate, Kevin De Leon, remember when he talked about ghost guns and they have a 30 magazine clip and they can fire 8,000 rounds in 10 seconds and all that? You know, that's a elected official who is passing laws that affect you and I. So, sorry, but at least know something about what you're debating. I mean, it would be like me debating brain surgery. Just I don't get it. So, no, I don't like pistol caliber ARs. I just don't. Because that's I think an AR platform for an underpowered round is kind of pointless. I would rather get something more dependable. The AR works best, in my experience, with the round it's intended to cycle, which is the 5.56 round. I love piston ARs. Best weapon for home defense is probably a shotgun, and you don't even need the full power 3-inch or 2.5-inch rounds. You can buy these half power home defense rounds. So in other words, you can put 10 of those in a Mossberg 500 or a Remington 870. You can have one in and 10 more rather than only 6, regular home defense. So and it doesn't overpenetrate. That's the entire thing in home defense. Is you don't want rounds that are going to overpenetrate and go through walls, because that's where your family is, right? The one thing I urge people who have a handgun or a shotgun in your house for home defense, if you have never fired a weapon in the complete darkness without hearing protection in a closed space, then I highly recommend you do that. Because if you've never done that, and one night you have to do it for real, you will become deaf and disoriented if you don't know what's coming. But here's what's coming. When you wake up at 2 a.m. and your house is dark and you possibly have to use that gun, it is going to be very loud, and there's going to be a bright flash, and you're going to be dazzled. So you should, rather than be surprised when that happens, you should maybe go out and do that in your garage if you can. And yeah, I use, by the way, one of the rounds that I use is Subsonic 300 Blackout in my AR pistol, and I get it from Pacific Northwest Arms, PNW Arms, and stuff. Yeah, and that's part of the problem is for a lot of people who don't have a lot of experience with firearms and maybe are jumpy, or they've never been in combat, or they've never been trained. That's what leads to that statistic that more than half the time a gun is used in a house, it's used against a family member who's mistaken, who's been mistaken as a burglar or whatever. And that's because people are keyed up, it's 2 a.m., they're terrified, and they hear a noise in the house, and they respond with gunfire. So I highly recommend also having a flashlight. Besides a gun, you should have either a Streamlight or a Surefire, something that's at least 200 lumens. And you should train, like as cops do, to to either, use it like that, or use it like that, or use it like that. And you should, when your family's out of the house, you might want to practice that, because that should be your move. Because dazzling somebody is a big deal. Guns, suicide by gun literally represents greater than 50% of the firearm deaths per year. Whenever they put up that firearm death at 38,000, well, more than half of those are suicides. Now, keep in mind, 20 years ago, it was 2-to-1, homicide to suicide, right? Suicides have overtaken homicides by gun. Gun violence is going down. Gun violence has been dropping for 30 years. It is not an epidemic. That's the other thing. When people talk about AR-15 bullets, I think they're idiots. And when people talk about the violence, the gun violence epidemic, then they don't know what they're talking about. By the way, I have a neighbor, the same asshole neighbor whose dog killed 14 of my chickens. When I met him, the guy was so full of shit. He talked about he was a Navy armorer. He was an armorer for the SEALs, all this bullshit. And then we were talking about, home defense, shotgun versus rifle and all this. And the guy states, clear as a bell, as if he knew what he was talking about. He says, it's federal law that you have to rack a shotgun 3 times before you use it in your house against a burglar. I thought he was kidding. I looked at the guy and I said, what the hell are you talking about? And he said, yeah, it's a federal law. And I said, there's no such law. There's no such federal law mandating tactically how you are to use a shotgun. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And the guy, and then he falls back on, well, I heard that somewhere. Well, you heard it from a fucking idiot. Okay, never repeat that again. But he really said that. And I said, no. I said, in fact, if you have a shotgun for home defense, it should be locked and loaded. There should be no racking of the shotgun. When you rack the shotgun, even though people say, oh, that sound will just scare the shit out of people, you know what? Not your issue. You don't care whether they're scared or not. You care whether or not you're being effective. When you rack a shotgun, you've just announced, hey, there's a gun here. If you kill me, you get the gun. You should not have to do anything but select fire. You should not be chambering around into a handgun. Yeah, the Joe Biden thing. Go out on your balcony and fire your shotgun into the air. What was it? Was that the goddamn stupidest thing you've ever heard in your life? When Joe Biden said that, my God. I couldn't believe that. And of course, he was talking to a bunch of Democrats who nodded their heads and went, yeah, that's right. That's all you got to do. That's all you need to do. I don't know about stats on how many home invasions have been stopped by firearm. We've seen a couple home invasions foiled by armed Californians just recently here in the LA area. That's anecdotal, and that's all I care about. Is what happens at my house, because I am not part of the broad set of Americans with guns. I'm part of the narrow set of Americans who have been shot at by complete strangers and have fired back. So I don't consider myself part of that. Let's see. Any more questions for the good of the order? I have to go hydrate. So if that is what we got, I know the CDC wants to do more studies on gun violence as a public health issue. I don't get it. I know they do, auto accidents and all that stuff, but anyway. We've got north of, 27 chickens, so. All right. Well, Smitty's getting antsy, and I have to. There's a Dave & Buster's in Auburn. Okay. And I have to do a Connect Pal podcast, by the way. So connectpal.com, Dark Secret Place. So maybe I will come back later on this afternoon.